The Invincible War without a doubt is the craziest event that took place within the Invincible show so far. We had alternate versions of Earth's arguably greatest hero up to that point, destroying everything in their path. However, there was one hero who stood amongst the rest and sacrificed his life to not only take out his enemy but also save his allies. And the man who did this is the one hero you would have never expected being capable of such an act. And that hero is Rexsplode. Rex before this moment in honestly season 2 and 3 was just kind of a jackass. We were first introduced to him as Eve's dickhead boyfriend who clearly didn't respect her given his decision of cheating on her, and he even implies that it doesn't count because it was one of Duplikate's clones. Like, come on, bro. And we'd see him as well being the hothead of the group, butting heads with people like Monster Girl and always somehow ending up talking the most shit by the end of every fight. During the season 1 era especially, it was pretty hard to like the character, but it's kind of the same way in the comics. However, I feel the show does one thing better to Rex, and that is give him more charisma, which in my opinion just makes him a little more likable because he's funny and voiced by that one guy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But this salt of charisma for me is what makes this version of Rex so much more than what he is in the comic. However, the comics, unlike the show, go more in depth as to what happened in his past, which I hope the show decides to pull an Adam Eve and give Rex a dedicated mini episode, just because honestly this makes his story a lot more tragic. He was originally sold to the government as an experiment for creating a superhero, meaning he never actually got to interact with his family all that much. They pretty much erased his previous existence and labeled him as a weapon that can be utilized. And Rex would eventually try to track down his family despite the government trying to keep this hidden, and he would see through the window his parents celebrating Christmas happily with a child, showing that they too, like the rest of the world, have forgotten about Rex and are living their best life without him. After this point, he worked for the government before meeting Eve, which then led into him becoming a superhero. Rex, despite being the loudest guy in the room, is one of the more broken heroes within the Invincible universe. His whole life was dedicated to this superhero life, and despite him not being the strongest or the brightest, he's still always a hero who fights until he's down. And we get to see this in full action in Season 2, where the Lizard League infiltrates the Guardians of the Globe base. Rex, Rae, and Kate are left to defend the base, while Invincible and them are fighting aliens, which to no surprise leads into the villains trying to take advantage of this. You wouldn't think that they'd be any real threat because of how easily Invincible deals with them, but here we get to see that they're in fact a force to be reckoned with whenever Invincible isn't around. They'd brutally murdered the clones of Duplikate, leading into Rae and Rex locking in against their opponents, but it's clear they're just getting overwhelmed. Rex, while panicking, would slice one of the members before then taking a dude double his size in a one-on-one. Rex, after getting his literal hand eaten off, would explode the item that he was holding in said hand, exploding his enemy from the inside out. As things begin to look up for Rex, Rex would then proceed to get shot in the back of the head. Somehow this would miss his brain and he would proceed to beat the leader of the league with a stub and a borderline bleeding corpse of his. Rex, despite being a fodder jackass, finally managed to clutch up, and past this moment he would go on to reach Hall of Fame status. He'd not only reflect on his past, but he'd actually change his attitude going forward because of the situation. This leads into Rex being less of an asshole, which allows him to become one of Mark's closest friends, and it also allows him to score a new girlfriend, which was Shrinking Rae, who, mind you, was the same girl who helped Rex clutch up earlier when Duplikate died. We even see him saying to Mark how he's happy for him and Eve, along with him telling Eve the exact same thing in the comics. It's a nice and wholesome moment that really goes to show how Rex did turn around for the better. And now with that aside, we can now touch more up on Rae, or Rex's girl. You see, in the comics, Shrinking Rae dies in the fight against the Lizard League, so past this point we are only going to be talking about show-related stuff. After the fight with the Lizard League, Rae doesn't really want to be in the front lines anymore. After bonding with Rex, she offers for him and her to quit and live their life together. While Rae wants to move away from being a hero to have a life for herself, Rex unfortunately was made to be a hero for his whole life. Sure, he never got to see what life would have been like if he wasn't a hero, but being a hero is quite literally all he knows. However, Rae is the first person Rex put some real effort into, and you can tell, unlike with Eve and Kate, he was actually trying with her. But he doesn't know if he's ready to give up the one thing that he knows. And so Rae decides to retire regardless, leading into Rex helping her move in till suddenly multiple green portals open up in the sky. We then see the alternate Invincibles arrive onto the scene, causing chaos and destruction. Rex, seeing the world in danger, would tell Rae to stay put before then giving her a final kiss goodbye. Rex would move in to help his fellow teammates, leading into Bulletproof, Monster Girl, and Robot, along with Rex fighting a version of Mark. Things would quickly hit the fan though, leading into Rex telling the rest of the group to escape so that Monster Girl can recover from her injuries. Rex would then proceed to go God mode and use everything in the area he can to explode Invincible, but it's clear that he simply isn't strong enough. However, it's still still invincible, and he would begin to strangle and torment Rex before Rex would then explode the one thing that he has left, that being his skeleton. Saving Robot, Monster Girl, and Bulletproof, saving not only his friends, but also the entire world. Rex at the end of the day was born to be a hero, which is what makes it all the more fitting that he died as one too. In the comics, we would see a funeral being hosted in honor of Rex, with Robot taking Rex's name so that he lives on, and we get a very emotional scene with Eve breaking down at his grave. But I think the show is more than likely going to replace Eve in this scene and have it be Rae. Now, past this point in the comics, Rex is still mentioned, but only vaguely, as Robot again would take his name so that he could live on within the Guardians. It's sad to see a character that's been around for this long to be gone just like that, but I couldn't think of a more perfect ending for the character. Aside from him, of course, retiring, and we see him and Rae living happily ever after. But hey, you can't live happy and invincible. Anywho, this is the MVP of the Invincible War and the undisputed GOAT of Season 3.